And joining us to talk about the Southern California part of all of this, and Northern Cali too, why not? Sweet Annie from the Cherry Bomb podcast. Hey, Annie, listen, I know you didn't see me butter you up before the break. You just got in, but I said, your takes are refreshing and fun, not the norm. And I guess it's manifested itself into a new podcast for you. Is that the deal? Tell us about it.
It has. And quite honestly, I think not necessarily inspiration, but kind of a big part of the confidence and inspiration came from coming on this show with you and really kind of embracing the parts of me that make me me. So I owe a bit to you for that. But yeah, I always thought about the idea of relaunching a podcast and thought, why not now? And right before the season started. So yeah, that's how Cherry Bomb came to be. She's a mix of my favorite things in the world, which are hockey and rock and roll, and I try to mix them both whenever I can.
I just was going to ask you, actually, how does this differ from what you've done in the past? Because that was pretty popular, too.
It was. This is strictly hockey. So whereas before it was spread across all 4 major professional sports, which I still love all 4, that won't change. But I've really found my groove and niche in hockey, which is my favorite sport. So naturally that makes the most sense. So really said, okay, let's narrow it down here. Let's focus strictly on one sport. And only 2 episodes in, about to be 3 this afternoon, and have already seen a lot of positive reaction. So it's been a fun 3 weeks so far.
As you've learned, you need to know your stuff. And from the first moment you came on, I knew that you did. And I'm a dyed-in-the-wool, born and raised hockey guy. So there's that. But enough about me buttering you up, me buttering me up. Let's get to it. These Ducks unis that you saw in the rookie tournament that you were falling all over yourself for, are they to stay or are they just a rookie camp thing? What?
No, those are the legit uniforms. Those are the new look going forward for the full rebrand. It did trip me out seeing somebody wear the C, of course, because one of the big topics of discussion leading up to this summer is who's the new Ducks captain going to be, and that was following what was it? Must have been right when the season ended, probably April, May, when both Pat Verbeek and Greg Cronin said it's time that we need a leader in this locker room. So that's when the fans and the media kind of turned their attention to, okay, who? This team really isn't, they're not a playoff team yet, but there's obviously a lot of young talent and potential here. So I guess the assumption and the hope for a lot of the fan base is, hey, one of the young new guys is going to get the letter. But now there's some talk and word about Radko Gudas having the C until he's got 2 years left on his deal. So wearing it until he for the duration of his contract, and then when one of the younger guys really matures and kind of steps into that role, they take the captaincy. But I know I totally got away from jerseys there, but no, I think it's a great look.
Not really.
And it's the fans have been begging for that Mighty Ducks logo to come back, and I think we get the best of both worlds here. Obviously, a big critique is that it's not the original eggplant and jade, and of course, I get that. But, they're really, the new ownership, the Samuelis they're not new. They bought the team in 2006, so I shouldn't say that they're the new ownership, but they've really leaned into Orange County and really invested a lot of money into the rebrand from when they took over ownership, and they've just done so much for the Orange County community. I like the ties. I like the orange ties in there, even though people constantly say it's like Flyer rip-off jerseys, which grinds my gears because the Flyers do not own the color orange. It's not in the CBA. It's not anywhere that only the Flyers can use orange. So, miss me with that. But it's going to be a great look on the ice. I'm excited to see them see NHL action, and hopefully the team on the ice follows suit.
They're pretty cool jerseys for sure. For sure. But they're not baby blue Florida Panthers jerseys or the Blackhawks Reds. But we all have, it's subjective.
Okay.
It's
Rod,
subjective.
Those are fighting words there. All right.
No. But the Ducks haven't had a captain since Ryan Getzlaf retired. And I just want to ask, is Mason McTavish too young? He's still my guy. Who do you think it's going to be?
He's by and far the fan favorite right now. Not even close. The most reaction, most people I've seen and spoken to want to see Mason wearing the C when the team is ready and competitive. I definitely see it because especially with the way his teammates talk about him and kind of how he is in the locker room and, addresses the team. And frankly, that's where it matters. I mean, to the fans, that's one thing, but, you want to be able to lead the team, and that's important. Obviously, you look at the Rangers with Jacob Trouba, and that's a head scratcher for the fans, but for the team, they said, no, that's our guy. So it's being from a fan, like media perspective, you only get so much of a picture of that. But I would absolutely be thrilled if Mason had the C on his sweater. And that's where it's kind of a head scratcher for me, where it's like maybe at this point in time, management doesn't think he's quite ready. Maybe he needs another year to develop a bit before he takes that leadership role, which is why they're talking about having a veteran wear it in the meantime. For me personally, I say give it to one of the young guys. I don't see the point in giving the C to somebody for 2 years and then giving it to somebody else. Like, might as well, while you're building this culture, while you're rebuilding, give it to one of the young guys that's going to be there, a leader that's really, a young guy that's shown leadership potential early on in his career. And Mason McTavish has done that for his entire hockey career, as you well know. So he's got my vote, and I was harping a lot. I was singing Troy Terry's praises for a while. I don't think he's going to get it because I think if they were going to give it to him, he signed a 7-year contract last summer. If he was going to get it, they would have given it to him by now. Same with Cam Fowler, who's on the trade block right now, as we've discovered in the last couple of weeks. So it'll be interesting to see, are they going to name an interim guy? Because, with all due respect to Gudas, and he's a fan favorite and the fans love him here, but he's not going to be here when the Ducks are competitive. He's not going to be a part of this team that's going to try and bring a Stanley Cup back to Southern California. So I'm pro give it to a young guy and let him fill those shoes. But, obviously it's not my call.
Yeah, it's a little like the John Tavares, Austin Matthews thing. It was awkward having to take the C off Tavares and give it to Matthews and make it a presentation, and give him his blessing. And for 2 years, last year, 2 years, maybe 3 years, every year you come on here and I'm like, is this the year the Ducks make the playoff? Any? And it hasn't been. So I'm going to ask you, it's our annual. Are they going to get close?
If everyone stays healthy, I think they get closer. They're not going to make the playoffs this year. I think that was Pat Verbeek's goal beginning of the summer, but he also said during free agency he wanted to add a top 6 forward and a top 4 defenseman, and he swung and missed on both. So I think the summer did not go as well as he anticipated. So this summer, this year is kind of, I think I said this last year before the season when I came on. This year is really about seeing the young guys really take a step forward and see, hey, how fast are we developing here? What are the missing pieces at this core that we need? Who are going to be the core guys going forward? Because last year, there wasn't a day the Ducks were healthy. Injuries galore, especially to the young guys. So hopefully this year, guys just stay healthy, and I want to see improvement. I'm not expecting I'm not expecting them competing for a wild card spot. I would be thrilled if they were close, remotely close. So I think with a rebuild and when you're kind of coming out of it and taking steps forward, you just want to see improvement. You just want to see the light at the end of the tunnel. And I think a lot of teams are in a similar situation right now. I just think the Ducks are another year or two away from competing for a playoff spot.
Okay. Well, here's a quick one and a last one. Who finishes higher, Ducks or Kings this year in the regular season?
Oh, I think the Kings. But my hot take is I think the Kings miss the playoffs. So,
how about that?
Wow. Have you put that in the Cherry Bomb podcast yet? How's that going over?
Not yet, but it's coming. It's coming. I just don't think they've made the necessary steps to improve this team. And if they do make the playoffs, it's another first round exit to the Oilers. They're not built to last through the playoffs, and Rob Blake has not done enough to improve and fix what's needed on this team, especially in goal. Like, with all due respect to Darcy Kemper, he's not your answer. But last year, Cam Talbot being your answer, It puzzles me here. It really does. So and you've got only a few years left of Kopitar and Doughty, and they're not interested in any kind of rebuild or even a retool at that, I believe. So you got to add more depth guys, and they just haven't done that. And obviously, I think the big win of the summer for them was getting out of that Pierre-Luc Dubois deal without retaining any salary. So big win on that part, and Rob Blake obviously holding the L that didn't work out. But yeah, Kings will still finish higher, but I do think they narrowly missed the playoffs.
Here's one for you. 3 words I heard as to why Todd McClellan got fired in L.A. last season. Pierre-Luc Dubois. I picked that up in Canada over the summer. Somebody told me that at a golf tournament. Okay, Annie, I could go on longer, but we got a break. Thanks for this. Hey, where can people find Cherry Bomb?
They can find Cherry Bomb wherever they get their podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Amazon, you name it. She's on there, and be looking out for the newest episode this afternoon.
Sounds good. Thanks, Annie. Talk soon.
Thanks, Rod. Pleasure as always.
Sweet Annie O.D. from Southern California from the Cherry Bomb podcast, where she talks Southern California NHL hockey.